Hello all and welcome to another instalment of No White Borders. This channel brings you paper EDH gameplay exclusively, and I'd like to thank you all for subscribing and sharing with your friends already. It's really helped get the ball rolling on this new channel. So we'll get straight into the gameplay with no further delay and have a look at everyone's opening hands. Coxie starts us off this game with an island, 2 swamps, a mana leak, cackling counterpart, hysterical blindness, and Gas Lord of the Fugue. Then Raz has brought the Strefan precon and starts the game with a swamp, a mountain, indulgent aristocrat, blood artist, vampire nighthawk, blood tracker, and vampiric dragon. Andy's playing vampires as well, and it is his spin on Edgar Markov. He starts with a mountain, a couple of swamps, Dragon Skull Summit, a Khorne Refuge, Bloodseeker, and Phyrexian Arena. And then last in the turn order is myself. I have brought you Wyleth, Soul of Steel, and I start with 3 basics, a Sol Ring, Explorer's Scope, Brass Squire, and Argentum Armour. Hopefully you all enjoy the video. Be sure to leave me a comment about what you liked about it. Let's get to it. Cox is up first and plays an island. Then it's a swamp for Raz, followed by an indulgent aristocrat. Chroma's Refuge for Andy. And then I throw out a Plains, followed by a Sol Ring and Explorer's Scope. Then round to turn 2, Coxie plays a Swamp, followed by a Tide Hollow Strix. Raz plays himself a Mountain, followed by a Blood Artist. He then swings in at Andy, knocking him down to 39 and taking himself up to 41 with his Indulgent Aristocrat. Andy plays a Swamp, and then a Bloodseeker, getting himself into his first 1/1 Vampire token. I play Wyleth, losing 1 life to the Bloodseeker, and then equip the Explorer's Scope to my commander. Turn 3 now, and Coxie plays a Swamp, and then goes straight into the red zone, swinging in his Tide Hollow Strix at Andy, knocking him down to 37. Raz plays Falconwrath Gorger, and then swings in at Coxie with the Indulgent Aristocrat. Andy plays Dragon Skull Summit into Phyrexian Arena. My turn now, and I go straight through to attacks, taking my Wyleth in towards Raz. I look at the top card with the Explorer's Scope first, but it's not a land, so I just draw it with the Wyleth. I then attempt to get down Loxodon Warhammer, but Coxie doesn't like the look of it, so decides to counter it with a mana leak. Coxie plays his own commander in Lazav on turn 4. Raz takes advantage of no blockers and swings in his Indulgent Aristocrat towards me, and then Andy draws his first card with Phyrexian Arena at the beginning of his turn and plays Diabolic Tutor. Thanks to the Sol Ring, I'm not struggling too much on mana here, but I am missing land drops, which I don't like, so decide to cast Masterwork of Ingenuity, making a copy of the Explorer's Scope. I equip that to my commander and swing in towards Andy, revealing no lands and drawing 2 cards. I also throw out a Core Cartographer. Coxie turns in Lazav and his bird towards Raz, and Raz swings back with his Aristocrat and Gorger towards Coxie. He then plays Vampire Nighthawk. Andy loses some more life to the Phyrexian Arena, and then plays a Gilded Lotus. He then taps the Gilded Lotus for 3 black mana and plays himself a Sign in Blood. I go straight into the red zone again with my commander and do reveal a land this time, putting a Rogue's Passage into play. I draw 2 cards from my commander and play a Brass Squire, followed by a Relic Seeker. Turn 6, and Coxie passes straight through his turn with open mana, which is always a worry. Raz during attacks points the Nighthawk at me, and the Gorger at Andy, making use of the lifelink here. He then plays Strefan and makes 2 blood tokens. Andy loses more life to the Phyrexian Arena, and then plays himself a Vampire Hexmage. That gives him enough vampires to cast and flip the Bloodline Keeper, transforming that into Lord of Lineage. He then ends the turn with a Vampiric Rites. I throw out the Argentum Armour, and then can equip that for free thanks to my Brass Squire. So that goes on my commander, and I turn it in sideways towards Raz, blowing up the Lord of Lineage on Andy's side of the field. I draw 3 cards, and then reveal the top 2 with Explorer's Scope, one of which is a Plains, so that can come into play tapped. When Lord of Lineage goes into the graveyard, Coxie decides to have his Lazav become a copy of it. Thanks to it being a transform card, it does only become a copy of the Bloodline Keeper though. Raz's Blood Artist trigger goes on the stack and gets pointed at me, draining me for 1. And Coxie makes a vampire with his new Bloodline Keeper at the end of my turn. He loses 1 life to Andy's Bloodseeker. Turn 7 now, and Coxie plays Gas Lord of the Fuge, and then swings with his 2/2 flying token at Raz. Raz again goes straight through to combat, and sends the Nighthawk in at Andy, and his 3/2 commander in towards me. Strefan triggers here, and upon resolution gives Raz a Vampiric Dragon, which pings Coxie's bird out of the sky, and gets a plus counter. It also enters attacking Coxie. Coxie decides to chump it with a fresh Vampire token from his Bloodline Keeper. The Vampire Dragon and the token entering ping Raz and Coxie for 1 respectively thanks to the Bloodseeker, and Raz targets Coxie with the Blood Artist thanks to the token dying in combat. He then gets 4 blood tokens at the end of the turn. Andy casts an Indulgent Aristocrat of his own, as well as getting a Vampire token thanks to Edgar Markov, and then casts Drana, Liberator of Malakir. He then follows that up with a Whip of Erebos. Going through to his end step, I decide to blow up the Whip of Erebos and the Phyrexian Arena with a Wear and Tear. Through to my turn now, and I cast a Mask of Avacyn. I then go straight through to equipping the mask to my commander, and then just to worry my opponents even more, I throw down a Sword of Feast and Famine. I equip that with the Brass Squire so that I can hold up 3 mana, and go back in for attacks, heading in towards Raz. I reveal a land on the top with the Explorer's Scope and put it into play, and then draw 5 cards thanks to having 5 equipments on the Wyleth. So Wyleth is now an 11/12 with Pro Black, Pro Green and Hexproof. I'll get the hit trigger from the sword, and the Argentum Armor trigger from attacking. In an attempt to get rid of Raz, I blow up his red creature with the Argentum Armor because if I can get through to him here, thanks to my protection from black, he will go down to commander damage. Raz decides to attempt to get himself into an answer by cracking one of his blood tokens, but he doesn't draw into anything and goes down to 21 points of commander damage from Wyleth. I untap all of my lands thanks to the sword, and during my second main play Blackblade Reforged and equip that to the Wyleth as well. That equipment alone gives my commander +11/+11 as the board stands now, so that puts Wyleth at a 22/23. And unfortunately my other 2 opponents aren't out of the woods just yet. I cast a Relentless Assault, which means I get another combat step. We don't bother jumping through the hoops of triggers and everything here because Andy has a bunch of black creatures. I can obviously get straight through with the Sword of Feast and Famine, so knock him out to commander damage. And then it just so happens that thanks to all the card draw, I get into my second extra combat card in Resurgence. So I cast that and swing straight through to Coxie for lethal as well. Just really lucky this game that my Wyleth didn't eat any removal, and then just so happened to get into the 2 extra combats that are in the deck. But it's always fun to see a deck go off like this, as long as it doesn't happen too often, that is. Hopefully you're all enjoying this new paper gameplay channel. Big thank you to Raz, Andy and Coxie for playing. I'm tribalkai on No White Borders. Thank you for watching.